A few weeks ago, one of the viewers on my YouTube page asked me to talk about IELTS Speaking Part 3. Normally, I look at IELTS Speaking Part 2, describing a cue card, on this channel, and I've never really given much attention to Part 3. But it was a good point, because Part 3 is actually the most difficult part of the IELTS speaking exam, and the one that students need the most practice with. So today I'm going to tell you a few things that you need to know about speaking Part 3. First of all, let's think about what speaking Part 3 actually is. This is the third and final part of the IELTS speaking exam. This section should last for about 4 or 5 minutes, and the questions are a little abstract. By abstract, I mean they are not as straightforward as in the first section, the interview. Rather than being personal questions, such as what do you do on the weekend, they might be about society, they might be about gender or age. They're typically about bigger issues. It's widely agreed that this is the most difficult part of the IELTS exam. The questions here are not terribly difficult to understand, but you need to give a much more developed answer than you would in Part 1, and you're not given time to think about it as you are in Part 2 of the exam. So what do you need to say, and for how long do you need to talk? Well, there's no set rule exactly. If we look at the speaking rubric, it doesn't say the candidate must talk for 20 or 30 seconds. It doesn't say the candidate must give 4 or 5 sentences. No. But you should be giving a developed answer. You should be answering the question fully and completely. And you should be taking this opportunity to show off your English skills. What a lot of students forget with IELTS is that this is just a test of your English. There are no tricks or tips. There is nothing special you need to learn for this exam. If you are good at speaking English, the exam offers you the opportunity to show the examiner that, and they will grade you accordingly. So for this third part, how much do you need to say? Say as much as you can in the best way that you can. Let's look at some examples to explore this. So the question we're going to look at is, how has the size of the family changed in the last few decades in your country? Now, I'm going to give you my answer to this, but I've not prepared an answer. It's not written down or memorized, and I just looked it up on Google right now. If you type in IELTS Speaking Part 3, the first website that comes up is IELTS Liz, which is a pretty good website for IELTS resources. Over the last few decades, I think the family size in my country has probably shrunk a little bit. Over the last few centuries, it's shrunk a lot. People used to have really big families, but nowadays they're much smaller. I don't have the exact demographic details, but I get the feeling that these days people opt to have 1 or 2 children instead of 3 or 4. And many people, in fact, choose to have no children at all. So I'm sure the average family size or average household size would have declined quite considerably. Okay, I used a lot of maybe difficult words there, like demographic, and I spoke a little fast. That's obviously because I'm a native speaker. But you get a sense of how long you should talk for and how much you should say. I didn't repeat myself too much, I don't think, and I expanded upon my idea logically. Let's look at another example sentence. Do you think diet is important? Now this is another personal question. but it's much more complex than the sort of personal questions you would get in part 1 of the speaking exam. So here's my answer. Yeah, of course I think diet is important. We just have to look around us to see its effects. These days there are so many overweight and obese people in the world. They suffer from terrible health problems, and diet is the #1 cause. Many people think that exercise is the most important thing in keeping fit, but they're wrong. Studies show that, in fact, diet is far more effective in lowering your weight to a healthy level than exercise. Of course, they do need to be done in combination. When giving your answers, you need to be giving details. If you're asked your opinion, which you usually are, you need to give it and then explain why you think that. This can involve layer upon layer of details. Usually you become more and more specific as you talk. It is also a good idea to give examples. Now you can talk about people you know or famous people. In my last example, I mentioned a study. I don't know the name of this study, and that's not really important. I care a lot about exercise and health, so I watch a lot of videos and read a lot about it, and I know there are many studies. But you could also just make something up as your example, as long as it's not too outrageous. Let's do one more example question from another topic. So what role should the teacher have in the classroom? I think that the teacher's role in the classroom is not to tell students what to do and what to think, but to provide a forum for students to become themselves and to figure out their views in life. A teacher should be a facilitator. A teacher should let the student grow and develop their own personality and knowledges. A teacher should provide information but not enforce a particular kind of knowledge upon their student. A teacher should be open to a student's ideas and to letting that student grow. Now that last example there, to be honest, my answer was not perfect. It was something just off the top of my head. I've not prepared any answers for this, but it was okay. I didn't repeat myself, but I did repeat some ideas. Fortunately, I repeated them in a new way, using synonyms. And I kept my idea pretty straightforward throughout, giving more and more detail. I didn't give any examples though, but I did give lots of explanation. I hope this video has been enlightening for you. If you've enjoyed it, please click down below and give a thumbs up. And you can subscribe to the channel. Check out my websites, www.TED-IELTS.com, and for teachers out there, www.IELTSteaching.com. If you also are looking for a book on grammar to help you with your IELTS writing, you can find a link to that down below as well.